Good evening and welcome to the KXCV KRNW Bearcat Coaches Show on KXCV Maryville, KRNW Chillicothe. Got a good show lining up tonight as we're broadcasting live from Carson Sports Grill in downtown Maryville. Our guests tonight include Northwest volleyball coach Amy Worth, along with the player off her squad, and Darcy Sunderman. We'll also talk football tonight as well. Head coach Rich Wright and running back Jordan Grove will be joining us. Welcome back, Trenton. I'm John Coffey. We also have Jenny James over to our left, along with Ryan Elliott, and they'll be handing out some prizes as the evening goes along here at Carson's. And Matt Trenton, it's a busy weekend coming up. Most of it all going to be south of us, though, either in Pittsburgh, Kansas for volleyball on Friday or down in Oklahoma the rest of the way for the weekend. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on at Northeastern State and the University of Central Oklahoma this weekend for Northwest Missouri State. And, you said it, starting off volleyball, taking on Pittsburgh State. Chance to go down there, get a win, kind of keep this momentum they have built up. 3 wins in the last 4 matches. And then volleyball turning around, playing Central Oklahoma, a top 10 team there on Saturday as well. Soccer also taking on Northeastern State on Friday, then going over to Central Oklahoma for Sunday matchup. And then, of course, football taking on Northeastern State on Saturday afternoon as well. So a lot going on down south of here. So I know it's going to be a busy weekend for you, especially making that roaming around Oklahoma quite a bit and catching a lot of Bearcat sports. But hopefully a good weekend where all these teams can go down, pick up some really quality wins, come back up home, and get back to work. For the Bearcat football team, second week in a row, they faced a team out of Oklahoma. Last week a win over Central Oklahoma. It was Military Appreciation Day on the Northwest campus. A 17-10 win there. And then, of course, down to face Northeastern State this upcoming Saturday. But, Matt, looking back at that Central Oklahoma game, they were a very good football team. Came in, as Rich Wright has talked about, and we'll hear more about this a little bit later during the show, a team that really their record should be much better than what it is. Yeah, they dropped to 2-4 after a 17-10 loss to Northwest Missouri State, and you kind of look at the weapons that Central Oklahoma has. You talk to Coach Wright, who obviously he watched a lot of game tape of this team coming in, and you know that he did his homework, and he kind of told us, too, off to the side, he's like, this is a good football team. They've got a lot of athletes. You got to watch out for them. And they put up a good fight with Northwest Missouri State, only losing this football game by 7. I mean, heck, it was 7-3 going into the fourth quarter as well. So they hung around, but the Northwest defense did what it's done all year. They stayed strong. They hung in there, kept this one a ball game, and then you saw Northwest able to grind this one out as the game went along and got the running game going and got the points they needed to get the 17-10 win. So the Bearcats 6-0. And now after facing an Oklahoma team at home that's is a very good competition you really have to get yourself up for, you have to watch out for the letdown now of going on the road to Northeastern State, playing in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and a team that's gone almost a full year without a win. October 22nd of last year was the last time that the Riverhawks picked up a win. That one over Nebraska Kearney by 10 points. So this is a team that's starving for a win, but it's a team also that's run into so many hurdles and so much adversity this year that it feels like they kind of can't get out of their own way. So the Bearcats can come out, hit them in the mouth early. This one could skew in Northwest's favor right away. Well, when you look at statistics for Northeastern State, they have struggled in just about every category, both offensively and defensively. And right now, with a lot of young players in their lineup, they're getting some valuable experience this year. But, boy, It's been a tough year for them. Yeah, it has been rough to say the least. This is the team last in the MIAA in scoring offense, 11 points per game. Last in the MIAA in scoring defense. Typically, that's a bad recipe, John. If you're giving up more points than you're scoring, it's not going to work out for you typically. Yeah. And not to mention, too, I mean, they played Emporia State last week. We know the Hornets are a quality team. We saw them early in the year, and they lost that one 44-7. But more than that, too, Emporia has a good offense that we're typically used to thinking of Braxton Marshall coming out, throwing the football all over the field. Emporia State ran for 210 yards last week against the Riverhawks. And that's the number 7 rush offense in the MIAA. They're a team that doesn't really care to come out and hand the ball off, but they did, and they did it with extreme success. So you have to think with the quality backs that Northwest has, this offensive line, that you come out and get the running game rolling early, take a lot of pressure off the receivers, off the quarterback, and just kind of let things happen. Not only that, the more you run the football, the more that clock goes, the more you shorten this football game, get out with the win, but probably more importantly, get out
with as few injuries as possible too.
One of the things they've got going for this year, I think past years going down to Tahlequah, they've got a new turf down there that everyone's raving about, as opposed to in previous years. You go down there and they had probably one of the worst asphalt turfs. They've really hurt them. They had a lot of players go down with knee injuries and things, so they got that taken care of. So at least from that aspect of things, you don't have to worry about the field as much as you used to when you go down there.
Yeah, it's baby steps. I don't want to sound bad about it, but let's find positives where you can. And it's a team that's they're working their way up, and it's not going to be an easy road to hoe this week against the number one team in the nation for Northeastern State. But at this point, find some moral victories in there if they can get a few stops here or there, even put up some points on this stout Northwest defense. I think that's something positive that NSU can take away from this ball game. But obviously, the Bearcats just looking to move to 7-0. Stay at top of the polls and ranked number one in the nation, because you know that as the Bearcats keep on winning, Fort Hays State keeps on winning too, the only other undefeated team in the MIAA, and they're looming down the road. So you want to keep pace, and hopefully eventually someone helps you out, takes care of them, but then you beat them later on too. John Coffey will talk some Northwest football here from Carson Sports Grill in downtown Marysville.
Welcome back. As mentioned, Jordan Grove is with us, running back for the Bearcats. And Jordan, talking with you before we went on the air here, I thought you got dressed up just for the coaches show here tonight. You look pretty sharp.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, I got a networking event here through the business department after this, so that's what I'm dressed up for.
All right. Well, it's been a pretty good year for you so far, doing a lot of things at the running back spot, catching the ball an awful lot. Just kind of talk about how you view your spot on this team right now with what you're doing offensively.
I just kind of fit in wherever, really. I just kind of do whatever I can for the team. We all talk about our 111th, and it kind of changes a lot week by week, whatever it is that I'm doing more of, whether it's carrying the ball, catching the ball, or out in the space blocking. So, just whatever I can do to help the team, that's what I like doing.
And you've done a good job with that so far. And when you look at your career, a couple of games really stand out to me. National championship games the last couple of years. You made some big plays in both of those. How much fun is it to play in the national championship just down the road in Kansas City, Kansas?
Oh, it's awesome, especially that first year with the weather cooperating. The atmosphere was just electric with all the Bearcat fans that made it down. I mean, it was 9% green up in the stands, and it got super loud in there. And just going out there and knowing what's on the line, playing for a championship, it's just a memory that you don't forget for sure.
That first game down there, did a little bit of everything, catching passes, running with it, and even throwing a pass in that matchup there. So just kind of talk about being multiple like that, where you can step out there and throw a pass if you need.
I played a little quarterback back in my junior high days, so got a little hidden arm on me. But
so you ever kind of petition Rich and Charlie to maybe throw the ball a little bit more?
I don't think they knew really that I could throw. And then I was actually that year in 2015. It was just before a game, and I was playing catch with one of our student assistants, Derek Dow, and Ozzie was like, "Wow, you got an arm on you." And I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Let's put in a little halfback pass." And he said, "Oh, we might have to do that." And then next week, it was in there, and then we didn't end up running it till the championship, but it worked out pretty well.
I'd say so. Coming to Northwest Missouri State from Adele, Iowa, just talk a little bit about the process involved with becoming a Bearcat.
I actually started getting recruiting. Ozzie recruited me here, but I had a teammate in high school. He played tackle, and I was the running back, and he was the more highly recruited athlete, and I was just kind of here along for the ride. But that was Noah Taylor, and he committed here, and I committed here as well. I came in as a walk-on, and it's just been an amazing experience, just working my way up into the ranks and just seeing how it's done the Bearcat way, and getting to where I'm at now.
When coming in as a walk-on, at what point during that particular process do you feel like you're going to be able to make that step from being a walk-on to being a very key contributor to the offense?
I think my first spring I started stepping up a lot. I worked my way into like the third running back spot, and I ended up getting injured, which sent me back a ways. But especially that sophomore year when I kind of finally stepped into a playing role, it was just awesome to finally get out there and help produce for the team.
Midway through this season, what type of goals do you have the rest of the way this year?
We just got to take it game by game. There's obviously that end goal of the national championship, but, our mantra is attack now, and we got to attack every week and just really get after the team at hand.
Now, you talked about having an event coming up after this. When you look at your bio here, you look at MIAA Academic Honor Roll, an MIAA Scholar Athlete. It really looks like the academic side of something is very important to you as well.
Very much so. My parents always make sure to stay on me, make sure I'm staying on top of my academics, and that's the reason we're here. We're student athletes, and you got to stay on top of your studies because football only lasts for so long. You got to be ready for the real world.
And how hard is that as a student athlete, where there's so much of a demand on the athletic side of things with practice and game film and all these type of things? How hard is it to balance your time to make sure that you're able to give the academics the proper attention it needs?
Oh, it's definitely very time consuming. It's something you definitely got to get used to, and that redshirt year helps, I think, because it's not quite as time consuming as a redshirt, and then work your way into it. But you just got to set your priorities and do what you got to do, and I think that'll really help in the real world, just developing those time management skills and setting goals and sticking to them and realizing those goals later on.
As far as your field of study, just tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm a corporate finance major and a Spanish minor. Kind of an odd combination. I don't necessarily know what I want to do, but I came in undecided as a major, and I was talking to my dad, and he goes, there's a lot of opportunities that you can do with finance. There's a lot of different things, areas you can go into. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot, and I ended up liking it. So, and the Spanish part, I came in doing that because I had a good Spanish teacher in high school that actually went here as well. Her name's Mrs. Byer. So I just kind of enjoyed that in high school and followed through in college.
I would imagine that would be, even though it doesn't seem like that goes together, but that having those language skills would actually be a big benefit in the business world.
Yeah, I wish I could say that I would consider myself bilingual, but still got a ways for that. I think you kind of really got to immerse yourself in the culture as a study abroad or something to really become fully fluent. But I got a good background and knowledge in Spanish.
All right, well, sounds good. Jordan, again, thanks a lot for being with us on the show, and we'll let you go and get to your next event here tonight.
Yep, appreciate it.
And that's Jordan Grove with us on the KXCV KRNW Bearcat Coaches Show. When we come back, we'll continue to talk football as the head coach of the Bearcats, Rich Wright, joins us. That's coming up right after this timeout from Carson Sports Grill in downtown Maryville. Welcome back to the KXCV KRNW Bearcat Coaches Show. We are broadcasting live from Carson Sports Grill in downtown Maryville, joined now by the head coach of the Bearcat football team, Rich Wright. And Rich, tell you what, Jordan kind of knocked it out of the park here as far as dressing up for the show here tonight.
That's why I'm on radio. Is that he can't show me up. So yeah, he did. He looks great. It's fun to see the kids as they get older and start to try and find their career path and go do things like this. We were sitting at the dinner table and eating a little bit, and he was just talking about trying to go do a little bit of exploring tonight and kind of see if he could find out what he wanted to do. So.
Well, I don't want to burst your bubble, but they do turn around and put this like on Channel 8 later. So
usually it's just from the waist up, though, so I don't look too bad.
Hey, Jeff, can we get a full shot?
Yeah, there you
go. No, last week going against Central Oklahoma, you talked all week. This is a good team, better than everybody kind of thinks coming in, looking at the record, and they're a good football team.
I try to tell everybody. Nobody ever wants to listen to me. Everybody thinks I was pulling a Lou Holtz, and I was going to make sure that everybody was good. But it's you could tell pretty quickly when you watched them on film. They had talent, they had size, they had speed. They had just figured out ways to lose football games, and most of it had been in the fourth quarter. They had actually. I was talking to Coach Bobick before the game, and he said it was the most frustrating team he had ever had. Just simply because of that they had tons of talent, but they were just finding ways to lose games late. They had led, and he said, and I didn't really research, but he said that they had led in every game going into the fourth quarter. And so I was like, wow. And, after the game, everybody agreed with me. They were like, boy, those guys look pretty good, and those guys were pretty good on defense. And they flew around. So, yeah.
Rich, long trip down to Tahlequah, Oklahoma this weekend to face Northeastern State.
Tahlequah, 6 hours away. I'm going to enjoy the trip down much more than I'm going to enjoy the trip home. It's you just make it a good thing. It's the last of 2 road trips that we've got this year, and we've already talked about it. I talked about it after practice today that, you got to embrace that time together. One of the things that I do enjoy is getting away and just getting with the team, because I don't get much time around those guys. I don't get to go have dinner with them. I don't get to, be at the hotel with them. I don't get to hang out. And so, just to have them around for 24 hours, I've always said this, our kids are our best, are the best piece of who we are at Northwest Missouri State, and their attitudes are infectious. So I enjoy spending time with them. And so we'll go down. We're going to eat at Woody's Smokehouse in Joplin, Missouri. And then we're headed to Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is where we're going to spend the night. And then we'll take a fun-filled drive over to Tahlequah the next morning. So
there's really no good way to get there from
there. There is no good way. There is absolutely no good way. And I found out, I was looking at it on the map because we've stayed in Tulsa and we've stayed in Muskogee. I said, I've never stayed in Fayetteville. Maybe we should try that. So I made sure Arkansas wasn't in town, and they're playing at Alabama. And I looked at MapQuest, and it said 59 miles from Fayetteville to Tahlequah. And I'm like, well, that's shorter than Tulsa. And then one of the bus drivers said, did you look at the route? And I said, no. And so I looked at the 58 miles, and it says it's like an hour and 37 minutes or something like that. So I think we're going to be over and down and in and out.
Yeah.
Just don't eat a big breakfast before that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to eat light that day. So,
well, one of these days after you've been a head coach for a few more years, you can have the John Coffey treatment with your own helicopter and just buzz right into the stadium.
Yeah, Bearcat 1. Yeah. We can get that reinvented. I kind of
still
like
looking
it.
for that treatment yet.
Can you believe, I know you've got a lot of questions about how's it feel to be a head coach? What's it like to be and not much has changed for you, but man, over halfway through this season already. Playoffs, honestly, are just right over the horizon. 2 road trips left after this. I mean, this has been a quick season with just kind of a lot coming at you. It's hard to kind of sit back and view it because it's just, whether it's another injury here or a game coming up or something else thrown at you, it just seems like every time you try to slow down, something else is hitting you.
It does, and it's funny, the way, and I had a similar question, but you did a great job framing it, which kind of helps me, is that I don't sit and think about it because I don't have time to think about it, but it is different. It's there's a lot more decisions that I have to make day to day about lots of different things that don't relate to football, and that was where it was easy to be the defensive coordinator because, my day basically revolved around football, whether it was my defensive line or what we were doing on the defensive side of the ball. And just now as the head coach, there's so many other things that come at you and take your time during the day. And so that's probably been the biggest adjustment for me. But it's been fun. It's been fun because it's been so busy. And I can't believe how fast it's gone. I told my players today that, when we're done this week, starting next week, we will be in single digits for practice remaining in the regular season. And so when you start to put it in that perspective, because we're down to 12 practices now 4 weeks after this week. And so by the end of next week, you're down to 9. And you start to make them realize that the end can be near. And we talk about things like, for 2/3 of the schools in Division II football right now, they know when the end is. They know the day that they're going to put the pads away, and why you have to treat each game with such respect, and you have to prepare, and you have to do those things because you have to be sharp now, because if you're not, you don't get to play later. And it just, to me, it's always helped my kids defensively to focus in on the week. I was really proud of our preparation this week. We talked about creating our own energy, and Northeastern State's struggling a little bit, and so we don't know what the crowd's going to be like. We're spoiled to have the type of crowds and have the type of atmosphere we have at Northwest Missouri State, and the community that comes out and supports us so well. We're going to go to Tahlequah, and we don't know how many people are going to be there, but we have to show up and we have to play a football game, and that starts with us. We have to create our own energy, and we did that at practice all week, and it's just a great group to be around.
How do you approach a game like Northeastern State? Obviously, they're still looking for their first win of the season. As you mentioned, they struggled a little bit, but that's just as far as the actual game plan for this. What are some of the things you're looking for in a matchup with River Hawks this weekend?
The thing that we look for is our number one focus is always on how we play. and playing at a certain level and where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. And so, for example, we're going to, we obviously want to try and continue to run the football. We feel like that's important because at Northwest Missouri State, your reward for playing well is to play in the cold, and you have to be able to run the football in the cold. So we want to, continue to feed our young backs and trend positively in that direction. We want to be more consistent with the passing game as far as trying to score points off of that. Defensively, we've got to turn around and we've taken we've had a couple guys dinged up, and now we've got a couple next man up situations on that side of the ball. We got to continue to play well against the run. We're looking to, continue to develop our pass coverages. We've got a couple new wrinkles in this week, some things we're going to try a little different, and just things that'll help you evolve as the season goes along, and that's what we try to focus on.
Those young running backs, you see Brody McMahon lead the team in rushing last week, and when Jordan Thompson comes out and providing 66 more yards on the ground and a touchdown. And sure, at the start of the season, you never envisioned those two to lead you in rushing for a football game, but no. With what they've done and now trying to take on probably a little bit more of a load each week, how are they handling quite a bit of pressure for two young players?
I think our staff has done the great job with that. I think Coach Floor and Coach Osborne have done a tremendous job of not overwhelming them. And rather, because I get asked, well, why isn't this guy the feature? Why isn't that guy the feature? Why, it's because that way you give them an opportunity to develop into the role rather than just, here you go. And so it lets the kids feed off of each other. It allows them to kind of focus and hone in on maybe specific aspects and not have to have the entire thing. And it develops confidence. And so they're able to stay fresh. They're running behind people. And you can see the confidence start to grow each and every week. They're great kids.
It's a lot of the same as far as the wide receivers, too, with a lot of the wide receiving core that you've got right now. Not expected to be at the getting the minutes that they've been getting due to injuries, or are you kind of approaching it the same way as you are with the running backs?
We are. The difference at the receiver position is we've had to kind of move guys to different positions, and so that adds to a dynamic. It's almost like when you move a guy to a different spot, I know it's playing wide receiver, but the routes and what you're doing are different. And so there's a learning curve to it, and there's timing to it. And it looks like you ought to be able to go from Z to H to X to, whatever else. But it's every piece of that is a little bit different, and the route structure is different. So it takes time.
Well, we've seen Jaravian kind of make that transition, play a little bit more offense this past few weeks. And the jumping in mid-season from one position, playing defense, focusing on covering guys to learning those route concepts, is it easier because he sees them every day in practice, or is there quite a bit of growth there, I guess? There's quite a bit of growth.
It's so much more difficult than what those kids make it look like. And even if you're a great athlete, it's not just being fast. It's learning how to use your speed to stem routes, to create separation. And it's also separation when the quarterback's got to get rid of the football. It's not get in the backyard and run around and eventually get open because you're a good athlete. It's now you've got to run something within a structure. So like Jaravian, it was a guy that last year down on the scout team, he could go against anybody because he didn't have to have any structure. He wasn't in a system. It's a lot different when you're over actually executing something on the offensive side of the ball where you have all those, you're just a piece that fits into the bigger puzzle.
All right, well, Rich, thanks a lot for being on the show tonight. It's been a good show and another long trip for this weekend, but it'll be fun.
I'll look forward to seeing you.
All right, sounds good. That's the head coach of the Bearcat football team, Rich Wright. Matt, as we talked about, long trip down to Tahlequah. Unfortunately, you won't be making the trip for some reason. But
well, you got Matt Gorder with you for the road game, so I have to stay home and do a specific honeydew list. But I'll have the ball game on and listen, of course, keeping up with it. So looking forward to another good day and hopefully seeing the Bearcats move to 7-0.
And we'll have that broadcast on KXCV, KRNW, beginning at 1 o'clock with Bearcat Game Day before the 2 o'clock kickoff. Thanks to everyone involved with our program here tonight at Carson Sports Grill. For Matt Trenton, I'm Sean Coffey, and so long from Carson's.